No.
Yeah, this is another podcast, another great podcast. This is Moma, and we've got special guests today, my usual co-host. Introduce yourself.
Rude boy.
American in Europe.
Excellent, excellent. So yeah, we're going to discuss a few topics today, cover a few themes, and so on and so forth. Rude boy, unfortunately, the topics that you listed have been erased due to some
No
technical
problem.
difficulties
No
that we
problem.
had earlier on, but
No problem.
reel them
Okay,
off.
we've got a American in Europe recently. I brought him onto the podcast, or why we brought him onto the podcast is well-traveled guy. Spent a lot of time in Japan, Germany, and Hungary, of course. Yeah, interesting, well-traveled guy. Want to hear about some of his experiences, good and bad. So, without further ado, American in Europe, if you just sort of give us a quick background of who you are, what you do, and some of these places we've mentioned.
Sure. Thanks, guys. Thanks again for having me. I appreciate it. So a little bit about me, real quick. I'm an American dude, Black American guy. Grew up in Philadelphia. Uh, Spent most of my time in that area until I was 18. Had figured I had enough of the dating situation in the States. Even at a young age of 18, I knew that it wasn't for me. I joined the military, the only way I could get out at the time. And yeah, started traveling, through the military. And then after a couple years doing that, or traveling around in uniform, I got out, started contracting in uniform, or started contracting for the military. Still traveling, mostly in Europe and Asia. And then that wasn't enough for me. That was a little bit too static for me. So now currently I'm working online, just able to, kind of bounce around wherever I want. And still working. I'm in IT. That's what I did in the military, and that's what I do now. And yeah, it's been real fun. Like when I was younger, I always had game in my life. Being grown up on the East Coast in a Black American neighborhood, it was kind of considered something along the lines of paying money to have a boot camp, or paying money to learn game. Something that will probably get you laughed at, because it was a common misconception that the Black people just naturally have game. So I grew up around guys that were just naturally, either gifted or knew how to fake it. And talking to girls was nothing. I mean, it was something that everybody just did. I mean, it wasn't something that I had to learn. So, but it wasn't until I started, trying to improve my end result that I learned, picked up methods of the game and learned to actually talk to girls and get consistent results, as opposed to just coming with a lot of bravado and just hoping to get lucky.
Interesting. So would you say that since you're from Philly, what I know of Philly, of course, is the Fresh Prince, Philly cheesesteaks, Cassidy the rapper, and Allen Iverson spent a good portion of his career there. So that's what has allured me to Philadelphia. Were you from like the inner city or the burbs in Philly?
Yeah, like that's a good question. The Philly is a really segregated city, and I was in the black section, Germantown. That's in the northwestern part of Philly. But even amongst the black section, it was a nice part of the black section. So it was we were a couple train stops away from downtown. but it was definitely not like downtown where people are doing drugs and everything like that. So it was pretty cool. It was pretty pretty safe. My parents got divorced when I was really young, so I ended up moving bouncing around a lot. So I did spend a little bit of time in those bad sections, spend a little bit of time outside of the bad sections. But you know, Philly is a real hard city for game, and I should say Philly's a real hard city for game if you're a brother who likes white girls, and if you're a brother who exclusively dates black girls or really doesn't care, then yeah, I mean you're gonna do okay in Philly. It's decent. The quality is not as good as New York, but definitely if you're a brother who wants to spread his range a little bit to white, Asian, Latino girls, then Philly's gonna be a bit of a challenge.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, what I guess I'm gonna jump forward because I'm really interested to hear about your experience in Japan. So, if you want to speak to that a bit.
Sure. Yeah. Like I first came to Japan 15 years ago, and when I was in Okinawa. It's a little island in the South China Sea. I was in the military. I first got there. It's a constant theme with military bases. Whenever you drop in, the guys always say, "Oh man, you just missed it. You should have been here 2 years ago because the party was jumping and you're just like, oh man, like I got stuck here at the wrong time and but definitely when I first got there, the theme was just lots of partying, lots of drinking, and it wasn't really too much you know wasn't really too much Japanese girls at the time, but you know, definitely, definitely, I got in the right mindset in Okinawa for when I got to Tokyo a couple years later, which was my second base. I was definitely prepared for it. The one thing you need to understand when you come to Japan, and this is for black and white guys, that when you get a girl's number, which is really really easy to get a girl's number. The Japanese girls are very very approachable. When they like you, and they're very catty, they're very coy, and it's real easy to just go up a girl and just say a couple words to her and just get her number. But you have to understand that that number doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's not worth the piece of paper it's written on if you don't have anything. If you don't have anything to back it up, if you have no feelings to back it up. I've gotten so many numbers my first couple of months in Japan that led to nowhere. A lot of guys get to Japan and they get frustrated because they got all these numbers, but the girls are not calling them back. The girls are not writing, responding back to their emails or their text messages. And I'm just telling them, well, how long did you talk to her? Oh, I only talked to her for 5 minutes. Okay, well, that's why. Did you bounce her to a place? As soon as you talk to them, you need to be pulling them, to a coffee shop, pulling them to the other side of the bookstore, pulling them somewhere to get them to have the illusion that time is being spanned together. You're spending time together. Not just approach them, stay in the same spot, a static position, and get their number and be out, because they're not gonna remember you, even though you're the first black person they've ever probably met. They're not gonna remember you, especially in Tokyo. So in Japan, and Okinawa prepared me for this. It's really important to bounce a girl immediately. As soon as you talk to her, you need to be getting her to another spot. Sit her down, drink coffee with her, and then get the number, because that will improve your results 100%. And it took me about a year to learn.
I wonder if there's a correlation between that and the fact that Japan's supposed to be quite ahead in terms of technology. Because I wonder when people they've got all these smartphones, developed means of social media, that they're quite willing to give out their details, but it means nothing. So the interaction has changed, whereas there's other cultures where when you talk to them, it seems that you're not getting anywhere, but when you do get something, you've gotten a lot further. So it's like, where does the where does the effort come in? Is there a lot at the beginning and little at the end, or is there little at the beginning and a lot at the end? So as you were
Yeah.
talking, I was just wondering, because I mean, you've been there, but from my conception of Japan, it's pretty. They're supposed to be pretty advanced in terms of technology. I mean, Europe's
Oh yeah.
Europe's cell phone technology is much better than the US. US has a lot of great things, but in terms of technology on certain things, I look at some phones and stuff here, and I'm like, I saw that in the UK quite a while back. So I can imagine Japan's even much more further ahead in regards to that. Am
Yeah.
I correct in that sense?
For sure. Yeah. Before the iPhone, the U.S. cell phone market was horrible, and like you said, Europe is somewhere in the middle. But even in 2001, 2002 in Japan, we were using phones that can play MP3s, they could take pictures, video, all that stuff. This was 2001, 2002. So yeah, they're very advanced with gadgets. I wouldn't say they're advanced technologically. I mean, Japan is not finding a cure for cancer or anything like that, but are using the technology to probe the center of the Milky Way or anything. But they're really good at gadgets, and it makes it a lot easier, especially a couple of years ago or about a decade ago when you had the infrared sensors. You can getting a girl's number was as simple as, hey, let me point your phone to mine and send me your contact information. And girls are really keen to do that. Nowadays, it's more like Facebook. Facebook is like is really, makes it really easy to get a girl's contact information anyway. But the infrared was actually better because then you can get her phone number. But infrared sensors and things like that made it like a hell of a lot easier to get a girl's number as opposed to her writing it down, especially when she's drunk in a dark club and kind of unsure if she likes you or not.
It almost ties back when you say point at. It's almost like pointing your penis at a vagina and leaving a message there. That's what I'm thinking. So there's.
I mean, like like it's foreshadowing of what's going to happen for sure. Yeah, when you point your phone at her, you let her know what time it is.
So you
Do
walk
we
with a
have
big
this
phone, isn't
technology here?
it?
Do we have this technology here?
I think it's here. It is. I've seen it before. I saw it in the UK ages before I left, so I think it is here. AIE, would you comment on that? Because I use an iPhone and I don't really.
Infrared?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they don't. That's old school. I mean, I've seen some Android phones that still have infrared for like controlling your TV and stuff like that, but infrared's antiquated. People share their VCF files right now, which is like contact information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Like
in
a
North
file.
America, in North America, we never had that. Did we?
I don't remember seeing it.
I saw it in the UK, and this was ages ago. Like I was walking through London, and what I mean, one of my brethren, we bucked up on some other dude, and then he was just like, "Rebbe, what's the number?" And he's like, at this point, the phone, man, infrared it. So it's been there, and for some reason, I just assumed that it would be here as well. But I mean, I guess not.
Probably something we missed.
Okay, I mean it's cool, but it's not a must. So guess it moved on. So yeah, so you've done Japan, and then you've also done Germany. What's your take on Germany? Is it true what they say about Germany and the women to the black men? Because I have a little German experience. I didn't get through, but from what I gathered, it was a very nice brunette, and she was African friendly as well. So
Yeah.
me seeing that made me feel that I think there must be a little bit of a niche in Germany in regards to um, black men and the German women. What's your take on that and your experience?
Well, if Japan was my UEFA championship, then Germany is definitely my World Cup. Because Germany is just the promised land, man. I mean, like when I first got there in 2003, this was over 10 years ago now. When I first got there in 2003, I hated Germany. I really didn't like the people. I thought the women smoked too much. I thought they were very cold and unfriendly, and but after a while, it kind of just grew on me. I went back to the States and I compared it to that, and I was just like, okay, yeah, like I need to, sharpen up and go back to Germany because it's way worse here. And the second time when I came back, I really started to appreciate Germany and really started to appreciate it more. The thing I like about Germany and Germans are that they're direct. You guys seem to like that. In that characteristic, they're very direct and they're they're very fair. German people are stale as bread, man. I mean, they're not very colorful, not very animated, but they're fair and they're direct. And that's all that I ask for. Like if a girl doesn't like you and she'll blow you out, she'll blow out white guys too. Like there ain't nothing racist going on there. I mean, she doesn't really feel like being chatted up at that moment. But there is a definitely I would say 40 to 50% of the girls in Germany have a thing for black men. I mean, I don't know why. Maybe it's the exoticness. Maybe it's the fact that German guys are not haters and they're not actively going out there trying to sabotage. A brother's just trying to get something to eat that night. As they say. I don't know. I mean, but the situation, the whole, the environment there makes it really easy to pull for brothers online, at the club, or on the street.
So
the bigger the city, the better.
When you talk about fair, you're saying that they're just fair through the way they are, because I think in North America sometimes there's a fake fair, but it's not really fair in certain places. I mean, you do have people that are really fair, but you've got this need not to offend, you know what I mean? And it's almost
Right.
enforced. And when you enforce it, people really, they fake it, but really, if you really dig down, they'll let something slip where they weren't thinking fairly. So is that one of the things that you're alluding to?
Yeah, I mean, compared to North America, I mean, Americans, we have a tendency to let our emotions, dictate kind of like how the way we treat each other and and decisions that we make, whereas in Germany, like, Germans are very logical and they're prepared to explain their point of view. Like if they make a decision on something, they're just prepared to explain it. Like I think this way because of this. And in America, it's just kind of like, well, I think this way because I do, and I don't have to tell you why. I mean, when deep down it might be, something, something else more sinister. Then I don't know. I don't know, German.
I see what you're saying. I think, definitely North America. I've seen that entitled to one's own opinion, and I've heard a lot about Germans. I've not interacted with them, at all in that level to know. But a lot of people have told me about there, and a lot of people have chosen there as a point of destination. So, I mean, what was your vibe?
I'll give you an example. When I like my ex-girlfriend, when I first met her, we talked online for about a month before I came to see her. When I first came to visit her, she was a teenager at the time. She was 18. When I first came to visit her, her parents invited me into their house. They let me sleep in their house. They let me sleep in their daughter's bed. And the next morning, when I woke up, breakfast was cooking. They sat me down at the table. They were curious about me. They asked me about America. They asked me about my experiences being black in Germany. They asked me about everything. And and while they let me also sleep with their teenage daughter in the room next to them. I mean, like, and this is my first time meeting them. I mean, I never met them before.
Damn.
I don't think that's ever happened to me in America. I don't think that's ever happened. Has happened to too many people in America. Black guys, going to visit a white girl in the home with her parents. I mean, Germans are they're just like that.
Might wake up with a double-barreled shotgun from old pops, isn't it?
I one eye open, man, just in case, because I don't know these people either. Like.
You go to turn the light on at the night, and it's got the dad there with the lampshade over his head and the shotgun aim is like.
He's got the noose ready, man. Lord of mercy. Sorry, man, I'm gonna ask you.
I mean, there's some places I wouldn't do, but
Did you sex her up too, or what?
6 years. What's that?
Did you sex her up as well?
Of course, man. That was
So I had
rocking.
to ask you that.
That was rocking in the and I'm sure her parents heard
Oh,
in the room next door, and they didn't do anything about it. They didn't say anything. The next morning, they cooked me breakfast.
Man,
oh.
you had her pinned up against the wall with her legs all ripped up over behind her head and stuff, man.
But I tell you what though. I mean, if you know, they're not really big on second chances. If I was to screw her over and never talk to her again, I would never be invited in the house anymore.
Okay.
I mean, that makes sense. It sounds pretty fair. So, what
Hey,
what do
very
what
fair.
does a German woman look like? When I talk about the look, I keep getting this impression that they're quite solid with like solid shoulders, or it really varies. Like, do they have a specific type of look, or not necessarily?
Depends on the region. Like it varies a lot. Like I spent a lot of time in Bavaria, which is Bamberg to Nuremberg area, all the way down to Austria, and girls there usually tend to be really beautiful, real thick. Uh, you know, thick in terms of thick in terms of ass and legs, and they're very very blonde, very beautiful, and I'm getting a call right now. Sorry. Um, very very beautiful. But girls around the Frankfurt area and the Berlin area usually tend to be thinner and more petite. I don't know. German girls run the gamut, man. I mean, they're not tall and statuesque like Eastern European girls are, and they're not all blonde like Scandinavian girls are. I mean, they run the gamut. You do have a lot of influx though of foreigners in Germany. I would say 50% of German women have something else besides, or actually more than that, have Italian, Spanish, Turkish, Croatian, Polish. Lots of Polish girls there, and I
Yeah,
mean, I score most of my non-German flags in Germany.
because I think during the time when that little guy with that black mustache was trying to make his move, he was going into different countries. So, because I studied European history in secondary school and did my A levels in them as well. So we covered that, and I think he kind of covered. He almost got through Poland and stuff. So me thinking that, and you telling me that, I think that due to the fact that he tried to capture so much territory and so forth, it kind of brought people in either by force or what I mean, voluntarily. So afterwards, what's considered a German doesn't necessarily have this absolute look. Like it could
Didn't
be
he?
with one or the
Didn't he
other.
take? Didn't he take Poland in like one day or something? No?
I can't remember. I just remember he was trying
Yeah.
to make a move, and I think after that, I think the world powers were like, you know what, this guy he's a little too ambitious, and then that's when they started to clamp down. But that that kind of makes sense. So you're also another brother that's you've tapped into the Hungarian lizardry and this
Oh, just say that one more time. That was just joke.
yeah,
I
you
was just
you
joking.
tapped into the Hungarian lizardry. So I'm starting to, with these cross references, you guys are starting to build up a little portfolio in my mind because now, when I hear it from different sources, it looks like Germany and Hungary would be a place that, in the future, if I have the capital, would be somewhere that I wouldn't mind checking out because I mean, some of the pictures that I've seen from source codes, archives, and just online and so forth have been pretty pleasing. So yeah, give us your take on Hungary and how they received you and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, I dated a Hungarian girl in Germany, and that was my intro. That was just the little taste that I needed to really spark my interest. And first thing you notice about Hungarian women is, well, maybe not the first thing, but one of the most important things that I've noticed is they're very different in bed than German women. German women are, and a lot of people can agree with this on me. I mean, German women are not really super duper exciting in the bed. And I mean, there are some really beautiful German women out there, and they're really sensual and everything like that. But Hungarian women seem to give you everything, man. I mean, they really are not afraid to really throw themselves in there and really give you everything. And I appreciate that. And and my take on Hungarian girls just talking to them and stuff. And other guys have said this before, talked about Hungarian coldness. It's absolutely true. I mean, you really have to, like I said, develop a thick skin when you're in Hungary, because you will get rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected. And it's almost like a battle. You have to kind of just have this mentality where you don't really care about the girl or care about her opinion or care about what she says, and just keep plowing through. I mean, the guys that the forum guys that I know in Hungary, they're they get great results because they really just go out every night and they plow through and they just talk to everybody. They talk to all the girls, and sooner or later we have bad nights sometimes where we almost get into fights with Hungarian dudes, or we almost we go home empty-handed, or the very last girl in the club all says no. I mean, like every goddamn girl that I've talked to in this club has told me to get out of her face, and you're the very last one in the club, and it's nights like that. Then there's nights where you walk in and it's just something different, and you pull something home that's just out of this world. So Hungary is really, not for beginners. And
isn't it like the same with I don't know if you've ever been to Russia or the Ukraine, but from my experience in just talking to the lizards from that region, I just get the same type of vibe from them. So unless you really crack through, I don't get any emotions from them. So isn't that the same or no?
No, definitely not, because I won't mention all the countries that I've gone to, but Slavic countries are very different. And I tell the guys, the forum guys in Hungary about this too, because they're really stuck on Hungary right now. But in my opinion, Slavic countries, Ukraine, Poland, Czech Republic, things like that, the quality is just as better, but the girls are way more approachable. They're way easier to talk to. I don't know, Hungary as a country is kind of going through something right now, like with its identity and its kind of xenophobia, nationalistic kind of thing. It's going through something right now where they're having a lot of trouble with foreigners in the country. So that influences a lot of the game, a lot of the results there. And a lot of these Slavic countries, in my opinion, the quality is just as good, but I mean, it's so much easier to talk to them. Their English is better, especially countries that were not behind the Iron Curtain, Serbia and things like that. The English is a lot better, and the girls are much more approachable, and they're just as slutty. I mean, I find I have a good time in Slavic countries too. So, Hungary isn't even a Slavic country. Hungary is something else. So, I mean, I think you can't really put Hungary in the same category as Russia and Ukraine and all that stuff.
Okay, so you talk about the Hungarian lizards being more, I guess, sexually adventurous than the Germans. Are they things that you suggested that they've put resistance to, or they've actually initiated certain things, like bringing rabbits and cats to their mix and all that stuff?
No girl has ever initiated it, but I tell you what, whatever I suggested, they were cool with.
Okay, and this was from the Hungarians, right?
Right, from the Hungarians.
So if you suggested something from the Germans, did they sometimes say no, or it was?
Yeah, it was kind of like talking to a girl from the States sometimes.
Okay.
No, I'm not gonna do that. Why would I do that? That's nasty.
I see.
What about Japanese girls?
Japanese girls are like, they're almost the same. I mean, you have to kind of in Japan, the kawaii thing is really big. The cute, the kawaii thing is really big. So you can't really come at a Japanese girl as raw as you would come at a Hungarian girl. Like, look, girl, I want you to, fucking let me put a finger in your ass right now. You can't really come at her raw like that. The Japanese girl, you have to kind of play with her a little bit, be a little playful, be a little cute, and be a little coy about it, and then slowly put your finger in her ass. I mean, it's not like it's kind of like they're just as freaky, but you have to go about it a different way.
That's funny, because I just stick my finger in it, I don't ask.
No, I mean, well, hey, and then you might never see her again. I mean, because she have mixed feelings about that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you be putting it down well. You might not have to worry about it, but I always, with Japanese girls, I always make sure that they are good to go with that first before I do it.
And with Hungary, isn't there their leader right now? Isn't he nationalistic? Isn't he? He's right wing, isn't he? Their leader.
I think no. The current president is a lefty, but Jobbik is the right wing, like the ultra right wing political party, and they've got 20% of the government right now. And they're talking about the next president will be Jobbik, which I explained to my Hungarian girl, like that's it's probably not a good idea to have a ultra extreme right wing political party run a country. The last time that's happened, in Europe, it was not really good. But she doesn't, they're all about getting the gypsies out and getting the Jews out and eventually everybody else. So, like I said, Hungary's going through something right now.
But I mean, you felt safe when you were there, though.
Of course, yeah. As a brother, you can walk down the street and everything like that, and nobody's gonna bother you. Hungarian dudes are super haters, but they're not crazy.
Okay, and you never got into a fist fight.
I haven't, but I've seen other black dudes get into fist fights there. Just, basically from talking to other dudes' girls. I mean, I don't do that. Like if the dude's like hated to my girl, then I'll back off. I'm not gonna get a dude's face. Like, no girl is worth that.
Damn.
But definitely when they're in groups, they're a little bit more bold than they are when they're by themselves. That's with any European country with the dudes. So.
Wow, Moma.
Yep,
Moma.
I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me see. Let me look at the sheet here. Okay. So what is your game style? I mean, what would you describe it as? Generally, what is your
my game style has like evolved over the years. In the beginning, it was kind of like just literally from the pages of the game, or literally from the pages of like things that I saw online. I would have like I would have 4 or 5 different scenarios, opinion-based questions, and comfort-building scenarios stacked in my mind, and I would go and talk to girls, using that. But I mean, like I said, I grew up with guys, a lot of guys with natural game, and I've never really felt that was the best option for me. So my style eventually, I learned from that. I learned what works and what doesn't work, and I eventually incorporated that into my natural style, my natural game. I have a tough problem with distraction. Up until last year, I had a really bad problem with attraction. Like once a girl's on a first date, once a girl's at my apartment, it's over. But to get them to that point, I had a really tough time. And lately it's been a lot easier for me because I have a I don't have to fake being a well-traveled guy, or I don't have to fake being a guy with multiple different options, because it's the truth now. So that really projects out.
So when you talk about your game, I guess you're talking about, I mean, we all have weaknesses in the game in terms of, I guess there's beginning game, middle game, and end game. So you're saying that your beginning game needs a little work, right?
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you now, yeah.
Yeah. I was saying that you were just saying that in terms of the game, you're saying that your beginning game is a little bit, it needs a little tuning up or something, right?
Yeah. I mean, the attraction, the beginning, when you first start talking to the girl, you first start, if you're coming in cold and you want to get her to like you, that's where I really suck at, because for whatever reason, I've never really been good at that. But I mean, I've improved over time. But it's different. It varies from country to country. Like, in Slavic countries and things like that, like I don't really have to do anything. I just have to, approach girls, being a Black American with an American accent, and if that's enough, talking to them is enough to, it's the attraction right there, and you just have to just not fuck up. Whereas opposed to in North America, in the States, I have to, kind of indirectly let her know that, hey, I've got no kids, I've got a nice job, I've got I've got stability, things like that. I don't have any other. I'm not a player. You have to, talking to girls in those different countries are different.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I see what you're saying. You got me thinking. So let's we're gonna break for a little bit. Gonna bring in a little music, little Euro music, since we're dealing with American in Europe. So and we'll be right back. We'll be right back after this interlude.
Jungle is massive, wicked, wicked. Jungle is massive, wicked, wicked. Jungle is massive, wicked. Original, well, big up. All the original jungle is massive. The original dancehall jungle is there. General leave you alongside the MB. The world is in trouble. What will we tell a murderer? It goes. I am the incredible general. Sensational with the coming. Incredible general. Yo, mad the whole of them, I spin them like a windmill. New talk for them, go to them and we got the skill. Dance can nice and let's bring them on the bill. And the girls see you with vices like them teams get for feel. Pass out with them in the pass out with them in the cold life with them in the jail. I go winner, cycle winner, over the hill. Who the one come to say that, who the must say sick, who the must say ill. Just think that the MV to the best and go right your will. Come on. Booyaka, booyaka, when the general a boss. Booyaka, booyaka, MB run the dance. Booyaka, booyaka, we not take part no talk. Booyaka, booyaka. Incredible. Mr. Lee, keep on the man, the gentleman, the general. Keep on back in my style. Wicked, original. Minimum of rap, minimum of skin. We not partial. Minimum of rap, listen up. DJ to them funeral. General Lee, minimum of back. What we come and dance on me, all for the madam that. To the pinnacle. If you look at DJ chat, them say say tago. PFL, come and get them. Critical, 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 come go.
Into the next segment, and like I said, I'm on the podcast with my co-host RudeBwoy, and we've got AIE, American in Europe. And the fact that you've traveled and you visited several countries and lived in several countries in Europe and realized that race is not necessarily the same way viewed in Europe, in certain European countries, as it is in America. How's that changed your perspective if you think of the befores and after that, now that you've had that experience? What's your view, on, America currently, AIE, given you?
Yeah, I know that there's going to be people listening to this, so I don't want to be too brutal on my country or anything like that. But, after, before I left, it was just, it couldn't really, when I left, I was a young kid, and I was really just disappointed at the girls' situation, not really the racial situation. I mean, I was in the military. I made lots of friends, of all different races. But when I started to see what was going on in the States when I was gone, I came back every now and again. I got really disappointed, because at that point I'd been living in Europe for a while. I saw the general harmony that Europeans have between the races. It's a different story between the religions, but between the races, you have a general harmony going on there. And then I came back and I saw what was going on in the States. One thing that struck me the most, or one of the things that struck me initially was, in Germany you have a lot of Turkish people, and Turkish people have been in Germany for a while, and the kids and the grandkids of the original Turkish workers are integrated for the most part. They speak the language. They're contribute to society and everything like that. And I have Turkish friends who are cool. But a lot of them, some of them are not integrated. Some of them, stick their middle finger up to Germany. Actually, I mean, they take a lot of them. They take their wages and they put it right back into Turkey. Or a lot of them, they do things that the Germans don't like. But the Germans, they're still there's no violence or anything like that. There's no, not too much of a discord between the two races. Even though, sometimes the Turkish people say, look, we're not going to integrate. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. We're going to keep our Turkishness. And I would go back home in America, and from the beginning to the formation of the country down, you have multiple instances where black people in America have integrated. We've integrated religiously. We've learned the language. We've learned the American vernacular. We've done all these things to contribute to American society, contribute to American culture. We're in the military. We do all these things to contribute, but yet there's still in America, there's still this kind of discord between white and black people. There's still this kind of barrier between whites and blacks. And I thought to myself, man, if American blacks were to act the way Turkish people act towards Germans, I mean, who knows what might happen? I mean, it's a completely different thing. I mean, if you guys understand what I mean, like the level of the tolerance level in America is a lot lower, for what's acceptable, and people who don't integrate and people who do. I mean, the tolerance level in America is a lot lower, and that's one of the things that I've noticed. Like,
but I get the sense though in Germany though, and I've only just passed through there actually, as I mentioned before. But I always got the sense with Germany is for Germans, right? And the Turks, I could see there's a little divide there. Like you could see the Turks are the second class citizens. Am I right in that, saying that, or no?
Yeah, I mean, it could be true, and it could be my perspective as an American, but I think that if you learn the language, if you contribute to the German society, you pay your taxes, you have a job, and you keep the money within Germany, and you play by the rules. I mean, like I don't see too many cases in Germany where German cops are scooping up Turkish kids off the street who are not doing anything but just walking home, beating the shit out of them, or charging them or pinning charges against them, like the Central Park 5 in New York. Just black kids just happen to be walking home, be at the wrong place at the wrong time. Sure, we need some black kids. Let's scoop those guys up. They look guilty enough. I don't see that happening in Germany.
True. But also too, sorry to cut you there. Also too, before we came on the podcast, we were talking, and if you just want to explain. Or Momo, did you want to add to that? Sorry, because
I still think the nuances in Europe are different. I mean, because I still insist that, I know it sounds weird, and Americans, American blacks might think that, oh my gosh, he doesn't know what he's talking about, but I still think that the blacks in America are the most progressive in the Western Hemisphere, and I will stand by that, and it's not yet been disproven by me. You know what I mean? Because yeah, you see them in Europe and you get your white girls, but the bottom line is are you able, how deep into society have you integrated? What levels are you at? How can you influence a community? Is there a black middle class in Germany? You know what I mean? I grew up in the UK. You know what I'm saying? I'm anyone who hears me knows I'm from the UK. I can be on the phone, they can pinpoint. I've had someone in sales listen to me and he's like, "Oh, hey mate, you're from," he knew exactly what part of London I'm from. So the point making, in I'm fully integrated. They know instantly. But yet, being there, there was a limit to how far I could go. And I'm a smart guy. I'm witty. I'm all that. You know what I mean? So they'll know, but there's still a limit that's set there, and those limits I feel are set in all the European countries. Yeah, I could get the white girls and whatever, so forth. But to me, that's not really that. That's not the life to me. Oh yeah, I can get them, but I can only do so much. You know what I mean? So I still feel that could be an issue, and that's probably why some people are like, you know what? Well, I'm not gonna bother then. I'm just gonna, put the money back in, because you might see from an external perspective and say that because America is very obvious, whereas Europe are very smooth. You look at it from an American standpoint and be like, wow, everybody here seems so. But from a European eye, you have to look at those little details. They're very good. Europe is an old continent. America is brand new. So Europe have been doing this stuff for ages. So that would be my take on that in terms of progression. Interracial dating and linking and all that stuff, yeah, it'll be better there. But in terms of integration into society, influencing society at a more granular level, I still feel that blacks in America have got an edge.
Well, a lot of that is the product of the government style. Capitalism rules in America, and we're not going to change our style of government. We're not going to change our lust for capitalism just because some people in the country are racist. So in order to secure that capitalism, in order to secure that American dream for everybody, racism has to die. So the success you see from blacks in America, that success doesn't come from blacks. That comes from Americans in general. That we're just very, we're very into that whole materialistic, money kind of successful kind of lifestyle. Whereas in Europe, it's not so much like that. I guess. I would say it's more socialist in Europe.
I agree.
Probably because it's not available. That's to the average person, right?
Yeah, that's one of the things as well. Definitely what I saw. Yeah. So I guess we could talk about. Game. So I still got that frog. On a granular level. RudeBwoy, do you want to expansiate on some of the themes?
I was hoping you would expansiate, but I guess we had a question from the forum, and this is to Moma, American Europe, to everybody. It's an open question, and basically, when dealing with girls, we'll attribute to where you are, or in general, what's your vibe with women?
My vibe with women?
Yeah, you go first.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, like nowadays, if there's no connection with a girl, then I'm confident enough to just let it go. Whereas before, it's just I had to get her whether it was a vibe or not. But nowadays, if a girl makes me laugh, and if she's digging my jokes, then it works. I was with a girl a couple of weeks ago from Czech Republic. She was beautiful. She was a model, but she was the most boring person. I just couldn't do it, man. We went out on a couple dates, and she just had no, sense of humor, she couldn't laugh at herself, which is, very common for girls in Czech Republic and Germany too. There's no self-deprecation going on there. She couldn't make any jokes about herself. She couldn't just, relax and just be cool. So, I find that if a girl can make fun of herself and be humorous and chilled and relaxed, the game goes a lot smoother for me. Talking funny is a lot easier for me, and that attracts me, almost as much as a fat ass.
Almost, isn't it?
Almost.
Yeah, see, yeah, I get what you're saying too, and I think as time has gone along, I guess the mentality I've gotten into an abundance mentality, and it's enabled me just to, as you've done, just cut lizards off that are just not stimulating me, because I think I've mentioned it before. We have value as men, and our value lasts a very long time, and a lot of entities will try and make it seem that men lose their value as quickly as the lizards and so on and so forth, which is not the truth. So once we realize that, we start to at the very least demand that she puts in 50% into the interaction that we've initiated. And a lot of times we go to these places and we're doing all these things, working out, crunches, running, traveling, learning jokes, lines, materials, tricks, magic, just to just to impress the lizard, and you don't get no reward on it. You don't necessarily get that reward, and sometimes when you get it, it's like, all this for this nut. It wasn't even a good nut. It was a nut, but it wasn't a magical one. So after a while, you start to demand or request certain things, and once you get that abundance, you realize that you can get more. I mean, if you live in an area and you've got lots of stores and you like burgers, and you go into one place and they didn't make the burger the way you wanted it, you're gonna be like, nah, I'm good, bro. I'm just gonna go out, because you can go next door and get a proper burger. So that's how I see it if I'm talking to lizards and they're just being I don't feel that they've made any effort to engage me. Like I'm a cerebral type of guy. I can't hide it. Like, it's actually difficult. I got to a point where I was trying to hold it back, but I can't. The only way I can hold it back is say nothing. So if I'm talking to someone, eventually something smart's gonna slip out. You know what I mean? I can't fake stupid for too long. I run out of stupid things to say. You say, oh, this and that, I'm gonna say something smart, and that can, that can turn certain lizards off. We're just into simple type of guys, and if a lizard is a certain way, I can't really vibe with her. So that would be my vibe of them. But my vibe is really cool. It's laid back. It's always been that way. It's always been my character. I don't get too hype up on things, because I've lived in countries where getting hype just not gonna get nothing done. It's more like just chill out, have your plan set in place, and let things progress from there. So that's really my vibe. I don't. If you want to apply it to game, my game is I think sometimes my end game needs a little work, because I'm so laid back when it comes to the bang that sometimes I don't think the lizard even knows that I want it until I, grab lazily at her jeans or something. She's like, what I mean? Because I had one bark at me one time because I just reached for her vagina and it was just out of sync. She said, what's this? But I'm not going to be afraid to admit my end game needs work. So
no, well, it's funny you should say that. Like, as a black dude, when I date, white chicks, European girls, I don't shy away from asking them if they ever had a black boyfriend before. I don't shy away from, doing the sex talks and things like that on the first date. I find that stuff, it's unhinging a little bit, but it's not so nasty or so like off-putting that it's oh my god, I can't believe you asked me that. Like, a lot of the times I'll ask a girl, so hey, have you ever dated a black dude before? And and that starts the ball rolling with eventually sex talk and eventually things like that. And that's part of my game. I use that on the first date. I don't use that when I first meet them unless we're talking for hours. But I use that on the first date. I don't mind going into the ex-boyfriends. Like I said, a lot of the guys just refuse to do that. Like, oh my god, don't talk about the ex-boyfriend. That's a no-no. But I mean, I find like that shit's chick crack. Like, a lot of girls like to talk about shit that went wrong with the ex, and like, oh my god, you won't believe what this fucking guy did, and and I'm like, oh, what happened, and And not only is it it gets them talking more and more and more and gets them relaxed, but it also tells me what not to fucking do, piss them off.
Do you find that it opens a can of worms? Because I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm going to incorporate more. This year I've incorporated more of the sex talk. I don't know if there's a switch in mind frame, but I really feel like I don't care that much anymore. Maybe I'm getting used to the area I'm at.
Yeah, I don't feel ashamed.
Yeah, I don't feel ashamed. You know what I mean? So I'm actually doing what you're saying. But do you find that when because I shy away, I've met a few that are divorced, this and that, and I shy away from talking about their ex and all that, because I personally feel they're gonna flip that back on me, in the sense that, oh, how could he do this, or he cheated, or he banged my cousin and my sister while I was grabbing groceries and stuff like that. You wouldn't do something like that. And I'll be thinking, I probably would. You know what I mean? So I don't know how to disguise that. So how would you, when they flip that on you, how do you route off of that, or do you just accept it and say, you know what, that's what I do, deal with it? Like, how do you deal with it? Those type.
It depends. If she's talking about some off the wall type of stuff, like he banged my sister or something like that, I personally would never do that. I mean, unless she's smoking hot and she grabbed my dick or something like that. I mean, I personally would never do that. But
so you would do it then?
I mean, but given the right circumstances, I mean, I do just about anything. But I mean, that will never happen. I mean, I've never had a situation where a girl's sister came on to me. So I mean, I can talk from experience and say, oh my God, I would never do anything like that. I've never done anything like that, So, but I mean, and I could be congruent in that, because I feel like I would never do that. But I don't know. So I think some girl was telling me about a dude. She broke up with a guy because he was talking to her. He was talking to his ex, like the whole time that they were together. I mean, that's something that I did too, and that's something that the reason why me and my ex broke up. She found the text messages between me and my other girl that I was talking to, and I was just like, yeah, man. I mean, I just got to the bottom of it. I was like, so what about that? Really pissed you off? I mean, because was it the fact that he was doing this? Was it, was it the betrayal? Did you think that he was going to meet her up or something? I mean, I would try to kind of get to the bottom. I mean, I don't know, like at this, my banter with girls is so unofficial and so chill. Like I don't really. There's not too much that I can say to make them get up and walk away at that point. I mean, so I dig a little deeper. I dig a little deeper in the right way.
Okay.
I don't accuse them and say, you did something wrong, or you overreacted. I just say, well, what is it about that you didn't like exactly?
So in your pursuits and so forth, are you more towards mini relationships, or are you more like, let me hit it and split?
No, definitely many relationships. Yeah.
Okay. Would you? Is there a game set involved in? I personally think that, but I just wanted to get your view on this. Do you think that there's a certain game that has to be deployed or implemented in mini relationships? Mini LTRs, real LTRs, whatever you want to call them. Would you say that there's a certain form of game that's implemented, and if so, what type of game is it that you implement?
Definitely. I mean, and you can even break down many relationships into different kinds of things too. I've got girls that just come over to fuck, and I mean, that's kind of a relationship. I mean, it's not a one night stand. I see them regularly, but then you have girls that you actually spend the day with and stuff like that. And then you have girls that you go on vacation or on trips with. The girls that usually just come over and fuck, I usually make a point to only call them when we're fucking. I mean, I call them. And they say, oh, I'm on my period. And I say, okay, well, we can meet another day, or things like that. Girls that I want to spend the day with and everything like that, I plan trips. Like I know they like certain things. I know they like movies. Hey, let's watch a movie tonight. Tomorrow morning I'll make us breakfast. You like American breakfast? I'll make some pancakes, eggs, and bacon. Boom, and we'll go out to the city and go catch a film festival together. And you plan stuff with them. You plan ahead. You ask them, if they feel like doing stuff. And then the girls that you go on vacation with are the closest things to girlfriends. I mean, but after the vacation's over, you don't talk to them for a while. So I mean, I it may sound kind of in depth, but I have different kinds of LTRs that I have. I mean, and I love having the different, the different varieties of things. I love having, the jump off girl, the girl that comes over just every now and again. I love having the girl that I spend time with. I cannot just hit and quit every single girl that I meet. There's some girls that I like and I want to hit it. I want to hit it again. I want to see them again. I mean, but I don't necessarily want them to be my girlfriend.
I see what you're saying. What is there any is there any game that you need in any of these? You find that they try to overstep their boundaries at certain times, and you have to regulate them, or does it go pretty smoothly as you wine and dine them?
The easiest ones to regulate is the girls that you just banged, because after a while they get what's going on. Look, he's only calling me when he wants to fuck, and he's never letting me stay over the night. Those are the easy ones to regulate. I mean, because they know the deal. The harder ones are the ones that you actually do stuff with, because they eventually will stop giving you the pussy for free, and they eventually will want something like some kind of relationship. And I usually try to keep that at bay by just just telling them, hey, look, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for something like this right now, or hey, look, why don't we think about it a little bit more, or sometimes I just straight lie and just be like, okay, cool, let's be in a relationship, and then my behavior doesn't change at all. So it all depends on how bad she wants it. The average girl, especially if she's good looking, will let you hit it for free for about 2-3 months, and after that she's gone. I don't know too many guys that can keep a good looking girl at bay for more than 3 months without just being in a relationship with her. Like, okay, look, let's just be in a relationship, and then you just continue, doing your thing. But yeah, it's hard.
Unless you're giving it that super mandingo.
If you give them the super mandingo, you can fast forward that from 3 months to about a month and a half. And they're gonna want to lock that down.
Wow. And again, when you're talking from a European perspective, because I do recall, I think you came back to the States for a while. Was it last year or the year before? And
yeah, I came back to the States last year, and then I came before that. I came back in 2012. And,
and I think you were complaining about the dating situation there.
Man. And this might just be a Pennsylvania thing too, but I would go up to New York too. I mean, it was just the quality wasn't as good, and I felt like a bitch. I mean, I felt I was the one asking a girl, hey, when can I see you again? And hey, like, damn, you're just gonna hit it and just leave and stuff like that. I mean, it's simply because I didn't have the numbers, I didn't have the options, and they can smell that. Girls can smell when you don't have options, and yeah, that was what that was. It was the desperation in the States.
Yeah, the thing with America, it's a large country. Some places they're nice. Like when I say they're easy, like where I'm at, it's not that hard. You know what I mean? And there's other places where, because I lived in Miami. My logistics weren't great, but dealing with an average Miami chick was like, you just had to adopt a certain mind state. The cerebral stuff was a waste of time. You literally just had to go hard all the time and posture and fake. And for some people, it's not their niche. But America is a huge place. You move, you drive for 1 hour to somewhere else, and it just meshes with your mind state. So that's why when people say America, I can't necessarily co-sign it, you know what I mean? And it also depends on your looks. Like some people have said, when I talk about your look, I'm talking about if you're black or white, purple, green, yellow, etc., etc. You know what I mean? Some people have said that, yeah, you kill it in DC because I like chocolate. You know what I mean? I'll take a layup, and I keep saying that. I always take a layup, but you know what I mean? I know what I like. I know that, I know what I like, and I know what I go for. I can't help it. I've tried it different before, and I'm like, I'm not being, it's just not doing it for me. But I've never then lived in a country or a city with really, really top-notch white lizards where I'm like, damn, there's quite a few here. I've gone out with a few members from the forum, and there was a night, I asked the guy, I said, what's going on tonight? Like, there was some really nice white lizards where I had to actually be like, what's going on? I had to step to a few. So if that was a sense and I saw that a lot, my mind state would change. But my DNA is locked into the chocolate. So me saying that is that it depends on what a person's preference and like is. You know what I mean? I might find Germany and Hungary miserable because I might be going for the African chicks there, and they might be looking for a white German guy. So I'm gonna be there confused, and you're gonna be there, you know what I mean, juggling threesomes and laughing all day long, drinking, German mead. So what can I say?
They got that too, man. I mean, you'd be surprised. Germany will surprise you. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, you have to, being in Japan, you have to have a certain mindset of the, of the kawaii. You have to keep everything cute, playful, like funny. Then boom, all of a sudden you're in the draws. I mean, you're like, how'd this happen? Just a minute ago we were just laughing about some silly shit that was like cute, and then boom, next minute I'm in her draws. Whereas in Hungary, you have to reassure that girl a lot of the times, that you're not just gonna hit it and quit it, or you might have to reassure her that you're not just like, you're not like her ex-boyfriend and things like that. I mean, the mindset ranges completely, all over the place, and even in the States, I still don't have the right mindset to really do what I'm doing in the States, what I'm doing here in Europe. Maybe one day I'll get it. Who knows?
Yeah, you might have to find your niche in the States, and that would be, a certain place that has a certain type of people, or just have that radar where you find the immigrants. Because when I go out, I always bounce into people that have an interest in, foreigner. They'll have an interest in Europe and so on and so forth. But the average, if I deal with the average person that's just really into American guys and so forth, I don't really do that well, because I'm not willing to make that change in my delivery and my mannerisms. I don't, I like American sports and some American shows, but I can't crack extensive American jokes. You know what I mean? So once you have that radar, I feel you're able, because America is a huge, it's multicultural in certain places, so you can always go through and find that European that just moved there, or that person that has an interest in Europe. And once you lock into them, just like I said with a German chick that I met in Miami, I just saw her like a lion that just saw an antelope, what I mean, that has a certain type of limb. Like, I literally saw her, and one thing I've learned in game is just for that eye, because I'll just stand and just look like an eagle that's just looking for rats and rabbits. And then I looked and I saw her glance, and then I beckoned to her, and that was a little bit of something that I learned in Miami, just to be very forward. So I just beckoned with my fingers, like, come here. Didn't say it, but I beckoned. So she came over and I grabbed her arm. I said, how you doing? I said, let's go and dance, yeah? He's like, oh, I don't dance, this and that. But I could read the body language. She was saying I don't dance, but it was a very weak I don't dance. So I led her over, rare, this and that. So me just saying that is that once the radar is on, it's like, I'm always meeting these immigrants. But once you get into that sense, you kind of send off a little energy and so on and so forth. So you'll probably get into that state, you know what I mean, as you go along.
That's the one other thing I can say about Japan too, for dudes to go there. A lot of guys will talk and they'll game these Japanese girls, and the Japanese girls will stand there and not give them any reaction. And a guy will be like, man, I'm bombing, and they'll walk away. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you walking away? Well, she's not responding to me. Like, no, you don't understand. She's still there, right? She hasn't left. In Japan, that's a huge sign that she likes you. So you just got to keep plowing, and then eventually she will respond to you like, oh, okay, cool. So what was your name again? I mean, but, you got, like you said, you got to read the body language. The body language, might seem like, oh, she's not really into me, but the fact that she's still planted there, she didn't walk away from you yet, is a huge sign that she likes you. In Hungary, the fact that she, that she's playing with her hair, the fact that she's looking at you, giving you eye contact, is a huge sign. It all depends.
Or rubbing her nipples in a circular motion.
That's the most, that's the easily noticeable part, man.
Oh my goodness! Now I understand you spent. You've actually been to Mexico. You're another one who's kind of pro Mexico. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, Mexico City. I was only in Mexico City for about 2 weeks or so. I was doing some embassy work, and man, I tell you what, like like I was telling you before, I was kind of in a slump, being I was in a kind of a low point in my life game wise. I wasn't really pulling a whole lot. It was like the attraction thing that I was telling you about. I couldn't really just figure out what I was doing wrong with the attraction thing, and for years I wasn't really pulling the quality that I wanted to pull. And then Mexico, man, Mexico City kind of boosted me up a little bit, because when I went there, it was the first city that I've been to in a long time that had where the girls had such a strongly positive reaction to me. I don't know if it's because I was American or because I was black or whatever, but Mexican girls in Mexico City are just extremely just chill, man. They're cool, they're friendly, they're nice. They don't speak any English. You have to definitely learn the language when you're down there, but I mean, they're just a joy to be around. I love girls in Mexico City. You just post up. I mean, as a brother, I just post up, and girls will just start coming up to you and just take pictures with you, or they'll give you the eye, they give you the look, and I mean, and you start talking, and from what I can tell, Mexican dudes are not really going to be hating on you too much for that. I walked around the city at night. A lot of the American guys I was with saying, "Whoa, don't do that. What are you doing? It's Mexico." I mean, I didn't really get any kind of vibes that something dangerous was going to happen. I mean, I wouldn't go in a strip club and stuff by yourself, because then they might try to hustle you out of money and stuff like that. But just walking the streets and gaming girls in the streets like that in Mexico City is completely possible. And day game there is strong, night game there is strong. Mexico City is just a good city for game if you're a brother.
That's another point mentioned.
I will co-sign Mexico.
Yeah, that's pretty close to me in terms of me being in the North America. So I think I'm gonna have to make that move there. And when you talked about just posting up or having women with good vibes, I think a lot of guys that may listen that are in harsh environments may sometimes overlook the fact that they might think, oh, but did you get any bangs? Did you get any bangs? But I find that when you're in certain places and the lizards are very nice, the bang doesn't become a pressure. It becomes that you feel that you're gonna get it anyway. You're getting such a good experience that when you get it, it's just part of a complete experience. Whereas there's some places, or sometimes I've gotten the bang and I was like, it wasn't even worth it. I could have watched a porno that gave me a little bit more than this. You know what I mean? Even though it was easy, because you just felt that you're banging some whack fish. You know what I mean? Like even if she was doing the moves or going through the motions, it was like you're not really sensual. So that concept of sensuality, I think, is something that's overlooked by a lot of guys who've never traveled into the right places. Because I've met sensual lizards, and I'm like, damn, like everything about her, it's not like she learned it in a book. You can feel that she's sensual, even when she's brushing her teeth, even when she's taking a pee. You know what I mean? Everything is sensual. You know what I mean? So I think I feel what you're talking about. When you're in those places, by the time you've gotten the bang, it's like it's just part of one complete organic movement. So definitely,
I mean, like it was, the vibe that you get from the people. I was in Zona Rosa, which is where the embassy is. It's like a large gay population in Zona Rosa. But right next to Zona Rosa, there's another part of the city. I forgot what it's called. It starts with a C. I'm sure somebody who's listening to this knows what I'm talking about. But I mean, you go out there and talk to girls, and I mean, it was just, like it wasn't even about game at that point. I mean, it was just about having fun, having a good time. You would actually, interact with Mexican dudes and girls, and girls you don't really try to fuck at the time, but you just talk to them and just interact with them. And the whole vibe was, not so much about who can I fuck tonight, and it was just about I'm just having a good time. And then when the bang does happen, it's just like it's the best time of your life.
And you also speak, obviously I understand you speak a bit of Spanish, is it?
No, my German has gotten a lot better than my Spanish. I speak, as very, very little Spanish. But you definitely need Spanish in Mexico.
How's your
Definitely.
Japanese?
Yeah, it's even worse than my Spanish. So, but in Tokyo, Tokyo was like like Budapest. You know, like you don't English is not widely taught in schools or anything like that, but people speak English. You know, the girls speak English, and that's usually a huge sign that she's trying to get the fuck out of there. She speaks English.
I guess the American media and entertainment really spans worldwide because a lot of people that watch American movies and they'll learn their English from there. Would you say that's the case as well?
Yeah. I mean, they get their English from there, and they get their concept of American culture in there too, especially black culture. The whole MTV, BET, hip hop culture. A lot of girls get their ideas from American movies, and thank God you have, you got Denzel out there, showing different shades of characters, because for a while there, man, it was just like, every girl, will come up to me thinking I'm Lil Jon or something, or after I play basketball. I mean, I'm just like, look, it's not like that for everybody in America. But yeah, they get a lot of their cultural cues from American television.
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Rock those grills and stuff. I want to get a grill. I know it sounds ignorant, but it's something's on my mind for a while. So RudeBwoy is like, he's tutting in disapproval. You see me at the next meet up just with a grill, man. MOMA, man. I'm gonna have the MO on the front, on the top part, and the MA on the bottom part. When I smile, like Moma, baby.
You guys got a tattoo?
I don't have tattoos, but I'd get a grill, if a removable one though. I might get one.
No tattoo?
No, I don't have tattoos. My concept on tattoos is that everyone's got them, so I just feel like I'm doing what everyone else does. I like something a little different, you know what I mean? Like tattoo, everyone I've not met. I mean, all the lizards I've met here have got them. Even the conservative, even the ones that work corporate, they've got something hidden somewhere. You know what I mean? So I just don't have one. Do you have one?
I don't have one. I was thinking of getting like RudeBwoy on my forehead.
Mike Tyson style, isn't it?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Hey, you got one?
No, man. I never could figure out what I want.
You could get Moma and RudeBwoy Podcast.
You mention it. No, but I did have one girl agree to get a tattoo of my name on her one time. And, I was like, are you serious? She's like, yeah, I'll do it. I was like, no, don't fucking do that. That's your parents would kill me.
Wow, that's.
Man, you're hitting that good, boy.
Nah, she was just really young. That's all.
Really inside out.
Germany.
Yeah, I was going for Germany.
Just writing in my little novel here, my little notebook. Germany, yes. Mexico, yes. Hungary, yes. Yeah. So I don't know if are there anything else to cover, or with that?
I think we've done it, but actually, news flash. Just checking my phone, and Japan, the new Miss Japan Universe 2015 is a multiracial lady, half Afro-American, half Japanese.
I'm not
sure.
I saw her. Yeah, I saw that. I'm not sure if is that supposed to be news or what?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, Japanese identity is changing, and like Hungary, Japan is going through a slight, small, less, polarizing change, and like I remember when I was in Japan, I would see like the little school kids with their little matching backpack, their matching hats, forming a line, a human chain with their hands, crossing the street. And every now and again, you see these little black kids mixed in with the Japanese kids, and they speak fluent Japanese. And I was just, for some reason, that awed me. I was just like, wow, like, I would never expect to see that. And, it's a country that's going through a lot of change right now. And, some people it's really hard, and, this is a big deal for them because it says, you know, Japanese beauty is not, milky white skin and almond eyes and Asian Han, a racial makeup. It's something different. So I mean, Japan is one of the most progressive countries in Asia.
Yeah.
That Japanese people are this and that. Japan. I've never had any extremely racial experience in Japan.
The thing is that I see that I mean, they seem open in terms of the fact that a lot of guys have gone there and had fun, a lot of black guys. So that to me says that eventually there's going to be a certain level of mixing in the society. And I've read so many accounts. You got the Jamaican guy that, it was pretty much killing it there, and you've got other accounts. So even before him, and as I said, and I've mentioned it again, I have a friend who's from Hong Kong, and without mention of game, I don't talk to him about game because we just talk about different stuff. But he, out of the blue, and I mentioned it before, and this was age, I didn't even know what ruche meant. I didn't know what ruche meant. I had no idea what that was. But he said to me, you need to go to Japan. They will love you there. And he said that on separate occasions without me even requesting it. So me hearing that from him, me seeing other things, saying that it seems that it's quite receptive to the brothers, and if a place is that receptive, after a while there's going to be a certain level of racial diversity in that environment. That's just my layman concept of the whole situation.
I'll say don't get it twisted. Asian girls in general, I would say have more of a fetish towards white men than black men. I mean, the ones that from my perspective, I would say in Europe, a lot of European girls, especially Germans, have more of a fetish towards darker men. I mean, it will always be like that. But a brother can do well in Japan. If you dress very, very well. The right cologne, the right shoes, haircut. You carry yourself well. If you do the right things, a brother can do very well in Japan, anywhere. But I mean, your race won't stop you in Japan. But I mean, I don't want people to hear this and think that they can just come to Japan and be a magic bullet.
Okay, yeah, I definitely take that on board. Well, it's been a great interview. You got my mind spinning as always, so I've got to process a few things from some of the strategies that you've outlined and some of the destinations that you've gone to and given account to. So once again, it was a great interview. Thank you for coming on board. And RudeBwoy, do you have anything you want to convey?
No, pleasure having you. Yeah, you delivered.
Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it.
Great. Well, if that's all, I'm going to conclude this. And this is RudeBwoy. This is Moma and RudeBwoy signing off.
Peace.
Later.